The Wartales.
Hello and welcome everyone. I hope you're all well. We've got a big community update for Wartales. This is the first major update of 2025 and I figured I should probably cover this because, I mean, what the hell else am I doing with my life? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the community around the channel is growing quite a bit around Wartales, and I figure if anybody should cover this, it probably should be me. Also, there are a lot of people in the community that are more knowledgeable about the game, so this is a good place to have some discussion. If you guys like, if you're having issues with the game, if you're noticing things that happen, because with a big update like this, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. One of my viewers, a good friend of the channel, Added Oomph, reported that his campaign of 200 hours plus froze, and when he tries to load it, it still is frozen. However, Shiru is pretty good with doing hot fixes for the game and taking bug reports and ironing them out, but who knows when or if that'll be able to be fixed up. So if you're having issues with the game, this is a good place to discuss it, or if you notice things, or if you like certain things about what's in the update, this is a good place to talk about it. But in any case, there's a lot to go through here, so this might be a bit of a longer video. Get comfortable, have a seat, and yeah, we'll just get right into it. We'll just go right through it, and I'll give you some feedback on... I've played about 5 hours earlier today, a little bit less than 5 hours, I guess, but I'll report, I'll make comments of what I've experienced with some of these changes in my own playthrough, and speculate on whether or not certain things are happening that they're intended to be that way, or if perhaps there are some other bugs that need to be worked out with this update. So my suspicion is that we'll get some hot fixes for this, but in the meantime, let's see what we've got here. So hello, mercenaries. Here comes the 5th community update, as well as the first update for Wartales of 2025. The update comes with many changes and improvements for the games. In this blog, we'll have a look at AI improvements our team has been working on, the arrival of new road battle maps, adjustments to the morale meter, as well as our usual balancing and bug fixes. Those fixes have been chosen thanks to your feedback, sharing an opinion on our social channels, or taking the time to answer our surveys. It gives us great working material to understand which are the most interesting topics to explore. We have been extremely happy to read what you had said about our latest DLC, the Skelmire Invasion, and Wartales in general. You can expect more of those surveys, which will serve as a basis for community updates. You know what? This is something I haven't actually done any of the surveys. I don't think, and maybe I'll do one on and record it and just make some comments about what they're asking in the survey. But that's, you know, it's always very encouraging when a developer goes to great lengths to please their audience. I think you know, I say this a lot, but I have a background in Total War, and one of the things that has really hurt Creative Assembly has been the disconnect between their audience, or at least their core audience, and what the players want. I mean, sometimes they give the players what they want, but a lot of times they miss. And it's encouraging to see a company very dedicated to trying to give the fans of the series what they want. All right, given the length of this blog post, here is a brief summary of the main sections of the article. AI improvements. Tired of allies rushing into fire, the extreme difficulty is just a walk in the park. The team has been working on the core AI system in Wartales. Interesting. More destinations for your confrontations, so new road battle maps. That's pretty sweet. Anytime they add new maps to the game, I get very excited about that, because the more maps, the merrier. You get some really interesting situations based on what the map is and the terrain and the obstacles and things like that. So I love seeing the road battle maps being added here. Also gives you a nice sort of you get a little bit into the ambience, I guess, a little bit more so. It just draws you into the game if what you're seeing on the campaign map is reflected closely to what is happening in the battle maps. So yeah, more maps. Very nice. All right, morale meter adjustments. 'Tis but a scratch, not anymore. Your enemies will now have a more realistic assessment on the outcome of the battle and run for their lives. So this actually, I could speak a little bit on this. We fought like a handful of battles, probably like at least half dozen battles. And it seemed like this was working really well, that we were triggering the enemy to retreat much earlier than normal, which is really nice because I've been running with a pretty large party, and what usually happens is we get swamped with scores of reinforcements that they just keep coming, and we get swamped. And if you're able to get through the first round of enemies before the reinforcements arrive, then you don't have to deal with the reinforcements. So in a lot of ways, I think this is potentially going to make the game a lot easier. At least that was my experience today. But I think it's just a matter of perhaps my party is getting a little bit tricked out too much, and they're getting a little bit overpowered. But I mean, that's not really a bad thing. But I mean, yeah, the morale meter definitely did seem to be triggering a lot more quickly than it has in the past. But in any case, balancing, we have seen your feedback on the Crossbowman class and identified a few interesting changes. Let us know what you think. Yeah, so they tweaked the crossbow. My experience with our crossbow guy, this is a class that I'm still very much learning, and I am taking feedback from some of the viewers. And my Crossbowman was on fire today. Actually, he was whooping some ass. He's, I think, level 8 or 9 now. I want to say level 8, and he's getting. We've got him spec'd out as a gunner, and he's just getting so many shots off. It's really nice. And bug fixes. Did we mention we have a co-op save fix? That's good, I guess. I didn't know that there was a co-op save problem, but good to know that they have a fix for it, which is perhaps hopeful for our boy Otto, who has his save frozen currently, that perhaps there is some kind of fix for his save that is broken at present. All right, AI improvements. For veteran Wartales players, our AI, the system commanding non-playable characters in battle, not the technology preventing all of us to buy a beefier GPU, has always been quite predictable and tends to always attack their closest enemy. Yes, it has been very predictable, and so with this update, the AI in Wartales will change his behavior in two major areas: movement and decision making. And I can report the experience. It was very difficult to predict what the AI would do, who they would attack, and you have to kind of plan accordingly. You have to take in more scenarios into consideration. So they will go for more vulnerable units, and they will avoid taking damage a fair bit. So prior to this community update, the AI, friendly or enemy, this is under movement, was simply engaging the closest opponent, no matter the potential dangers on its way. With this update, friendly AIs will always take into account various areas of effective skills, traps, hazards, the full list is below, and will prioritize not taking damage over dealing damage. This should be glaringly beneficial to animals from your party. All right, so skills: barrage, spare wall, and reactive grip. Traps: Beastworm, Echold's Trap, Valerian, Alizarian Mine, and hazards: fire, poison, the Eye's Reckoning. The enemies will also adopt this behavior, but based on additional criteria: combat difficulty and their unit type. Refer to the table below for more detail. So that's really interesting. A lot of games nowadays, difficulty is somewhat artificial. Total War, again, I'll use this as an example. Total War, basically, the AI performs pretty much the same on all the difficulties, but their stats are modified quite a bit. And I mean, the stats can impact their behavior to a degree, but it's kind of an artificial way of increasing difficulty. It's good that the AI decision making is affected by the difficulty as well. I mean, there are also stat modifiers in the game, but this is, I think, an important detail that kind of gets lost in modern games sometimes. Okay, and their unit type. So this is really interesting as well. The type of unit will help determine how they make their decisions, which is another interesting bit that you'll have to consider when on the battlefield. So decision making. Following this update, we introduced new criteria impacting the decision making of our AI. The target's distance, the target's status, dying, and the attacker's skill, backstab, for instance. Now, the AI will assess which options are available based on those criteria and pick a target. If no target is within range, the AI will strive to get closer to the one with the highest score. This should lead to more diversity in its behavior as well as a bit more challenge. Enemy units are impacted a bit differently by this change. This new behavior will differ based on both NPC types and combat difficulties. So, as I said before, it was hard to predict what the AI was going to do. We had a pretty, for the most part, pretty easy day. There were a couple of battles. Actually, there was one battle in particular with a whole bunch of bears where we had a couple of close calls. And but yeah, in general, it was more difficult to predict where the AI would attack, and it seems that they're a little bit more focused in on vulnerable units as well. So yeah, positioning and using skills like taunt to lock down certain enemies are going to be a little bit more important, I think. So combat difficulty, easy, better movement for allies, and improved decision making for allies. On experienced, better movement for allies, seasoned enemies and leader enemies, and improved decision making for allies. On expert, allies, seasoned enemies, leader enemies, allies, seasoned enemies, and leader enemies. And then on extreme, allies, all enemies, allies, and all enemies. It would be kind of interesting if the allies made worse decisions on the extreme difficulty, but I mean, that's fine that it's consistent throughout all the difficulties. It's just the amount of enemies will have better movement or better decision making based on this. And I mean, the allies, you have a little bit, you have a modicum of choices to be able to, you can give them commands. I think it's attack, defend, or run. And so based on what commands you give each of your allies, they will do different things. So, I mean, you have a little bit of control to be able to influence their behavior. But yeah, that's good. On extreme, apparently all enemies will have better movement and better decision making. All right, new road battle maps. This is pretty sweet. I love it. The more maps, the merrier. With this title update, we're also adding 7 new battle maps. Encounters around roads of the following regions will trigger a battle on those new maps: Edoran, Gossenburg Beach, Alizar Mountain, Harag Marches. I'm curious as to how many battle maps there are in the game in total. Yeah, I'd be really curious to know. It would be kind of cool if you could like set up staged battles. If there was like a mode, like it's not a campaign mode, where you can go in and you can, just like in Total War, again, I go back to Total War, but where Total War you can customize a battle and you have like a certain amount of resources that you can spend. You can spend all those resources and decide which map you want to fight the battle on, and decide what enemies you want to fight, and all that sort of jazz. And it would be super cool, actually, if that type of mode actually led to some head-to-head multiplayer battles. That would be kind of freaking cool. But yeah, I mean, that would be a massive, massive project for them to do. But I mean, yeah, in general, I'm just kind of curious as to how many maps there are in the game, and I would love to like It would be amazing if there was a guide out there where you could go through each one of the maps and just kind of scan them all over. That would be pretty cool. But anyway, let's move on because there's a ton more to get to. So morale meter adjustments. All right, so morale was initially designed to speed up the battles, which makes perfect sense because the battles can become very, very grindy at times, especially if you're being chased by the guard constantly, and if they finally catch you and bring like thousands of reinforcements, it can be kind of a pain in the ass. Anyway, the closer to victory, the more powerful your mercenaries become. However, as the maximum level gradually increased over time, our morale formula no longer fulfilled its role properly, leading to the large groups of enemies taking longer to defeat proportionally. Initially, willpower was used to calculate team morale gauges at the start of combat. With enemy level increasing, our original calculation, designed around the willpower values from lower level opponents, led to a diminishing impact on morale against higher level enemies. With this update, we introduced a change to the way morale is calculated. Now, the enemy willpower is set to 18 at max level versus 15 at level 5 previously. Additionally, the level of units in combat no longer has an impact. To compensate, killing enemies one after the other yields slightly less morale, but raising your willpower will have a greater impact. In practice, this should speed up the progress of battles involving large numbers of units, and both the galvanization and victory thresholds should be reached earlier as well. In late game, morale should now have the same impact it had in early game previously. I really, really like this. I'm not sure if they'll have to tweak it a little bit more, but this to me is a really good feature because today when we were fighting battles, it did speed up a lot of battles and saved us probably quite a bit of time and a fair bit of grief. But the other thing I should mention as well is that willpower, it increases the importance of willpower, and willpower has been something that I've been advocating for sinking points into quite a bit. Even if you're at that 15 threshold, the higher you can get your willpower now, the more quickly you can end battles. So having a party with high willpower, a lot of members with high willpower becomes very important. All right, balancing. With this update and following the Skelmar Invasion release, we are going to look at the newly introduced Crossbowman class. While we are quite happy with the community reception and the new take offered on the ranged damage dealing archetype in Wartales, we feel that there is room for improvement. We have come to the conclusion that the class was getting really interesting around level 8, once the reload mechanic gets unlocked. Therefore, we have decided to swap the passive skills from 8 to 5 in the Crossbowman skill tree. This should unlock the potential of the class earlier in your playthrough and lead to more creative gameplay. So this does give the Crossbowman a bit more appeal in the early game, and you can potentially be a bit more dangerous with these guys early on. And like I said, our Crossbowman was on fire earlier today. Was glorious, to be honest. But anyway, we noticed that the gunner subclass could become quite strong at higher levels, so much so that players wouldn't even take full advantage of the multiple shot skill. This is why we have decided to slightly reduce the damage of that skill from 3 to 5 to 2 to 3. Consequently, should now be able to visually notice the triggering of the gunner's multiple shot skill. So yeah, this is the class that we've been using, and this nerf, you can feel it a little bit, but he was still dealing out quite a bit of damage just because of all the Crossbowman was getting so many shots. So yeah. To those of you who already completed Atia's Arena from the Skelmar Invasion DLC, it's discounted right now. And yes, this is a shameless plug. What are you going to do? And who unlocked the Machinist subclass at the Military Academy? We felt that the scatter shot skill was a bit too situational and difficult to use. I haven't actually used the Machinist yet. So the one class of crossbow I have not used yet. The Engineer, which is unlocked when you hit level 15, is kind of cool. It's a little bit different than the other classes, but it's kind of cool. But I've heard the Machinist can be quite strong as well. From 5 to 9 base damage to the initial target, plus 20% damage to all units behind the target, we now have a 2 to 3 base damage on the initial target and a whopping 150% damage, 200% damage when upgraded to all units behind the target. Cannot trigger a critical hit. So that sounds like it could be quite deadly. Scattershot should now be an interesting skill to use in crowded environments. Surely the most evil among you will even deliberately shoot their own mercenaries to trigger the effect on the unsuspecting enemies. Well, I mean, could be done. Could be done. There, you know what? There are actually certain classes. I'm thinking, yeah, that I feel like there could be a class that you could. Yeah, I'm just thinking of a combo that you could potentially use there that would actually benefit from getting shot by their own guys. But anyway, bug fixes. So there's a lot of bug fixes here, which, you know, like I don't even really notice a lot of the bugs. The one glaring bug that I obviously notice is the one animation. I mean, it's just a cosmetic thing, but the two-handed hammerer, when he goes to crush the guy's skull or whatever, like the guy is behind him and he's like hitting, you know, it just looked kind of janky, but I think it's actually been patched, and maybe show a clip here of it. But yeah, it looks like they fixed it. But anyway, let's see if it's included in the in what they mention here. So all right, fix out of memory issues. The team has identified the source of many memory leaks. Our investigations continue on remaining issues. So the thing is, like today, like it seemed like the campaign map was getting a little bit framey at times. It seemed to be chugging. And I mean, it's kind of understandable because the game is getting really big and there's a lot of interconnected pieces moving across the map. So I can sort of sympathize with the developers trying to fix all of the memory leaks and everything. But at the same time, my current system, my current rig is no slouch and shouldn't really experience too many issues graphically. But yeah, apparently the game still has its links, but I mean, it's encouraging that they're investigating these things. All right, so fix several crashes, including crash after disarming enemies using crossbows, crash after using the deafening roar skill, crash when trying to start battles with too many companions, crash during the ghost pack encounters, crash during a looter's boss fight. So we won't. Shit! I didn't mean to go over that. I meant to keep it redacted there. More spoilers. Sorry, guys. Close your eyes. Or yeah, whatever. I don't know. Hopefully, it just flashed shortly enough, or hopefully, no one caught it who hasn't done this boss fight. But anyway, fix gear disappearing from inventory after on equipping. You know what? That I have actually experienced, but just sorting the inventory usually got the gear to reappear. So it was something that I had noticed, but didn't really bother me. The thing is, like with bugs, you know, especially with games nowadays, how big they are and how intricate all the bits and pieces are, you gotta expect the games to have some bugs. But I mean, there are two kind of situations where it's not really acceptable. Like one is where it breaks the game. Obviously, that's not good. And two is where you've got so many bugs where it just like breaks your immersion to the game that is like, fuck, bug after bug after bug. It's like, okay, I can't play this without experiencing bugs. So those are kind of the two situations for me anyway, where bugs become too much of a problem. But I mean, most of this stuff I don't really notice or haven't really experienced a lot of it. I mean, like I said, some of it I've noticed, but it hasn't been game breaking for me, at least not yet. And though I do try and back up my saves just in case something does happen. Actually, you know what? One of the early co-op games that Anicius and I did, we experienced a game-breaking bug where the game froze and we weren't able to continue. I can't remember exactly the scenario, but yeah, we basically had to scrap that whole playthrough. Luckily, it wasn't 200 hours in like our boy Adidump, But yeah, anyway, let's continue. Fix job experience, resetting some characters after entering the Heretic's farm. Fix the execution animation for two-handed weapons. Yeah, so that they did mention it, so that has been fixed. And I can report that we did see that, which is pretty cool. Fix the brute skill tree, getting locked after choosing a specialization. Very interesting. You know what? We've got someone who's bugged out in the tavern, so maybe we'll double check to see if that actually has been fixed as well. Because yeah, we haven't used her all campaign because she's bugged out and we can't properly upgrade her. Fix players being unable to exit the unstable bridge. Fix bounty spawning in unreachable places. This is something that we had experienced, and it was pretty frustrating because it was for a really, really sweet legendary weapon. But most bugs in games have a workaround, so if you kind of think about it, sometimes you can figure out a way around it. What we had to do to work around was cancel the bounty and wait for the bounty to reappear, and then when it reappeared, it spawned on a slightly different place, like in the same kind of area, but just not over the unreachable spot. So yeah, if you do experience a bug like this, try and think of a way like, okay, maybe we can work around it somehow. I mean, obviously it's not ideal. We ended up waiting an extra, I don't know, month or two in game time, but we still ended up getting that weapon from the bounty. But anyway, fix the end turn issue, preventing players to continue their fights. So yeah, that's one I had an experience. Fix cursed village issue. Some fights were not triggered after exceeding the noise threshold. That actually probably would have would have been a nice bug to experience because yeah, the cursed villages are some scary shit, and if the fights aren't being triggered when you're making noise, well, boom, just get your shit done and get out of there. Fix guards not moving on the map. Oh, so okay, the guards not moving on the map, I thought that this was actually them setting up roadblocks, because that's what it seemed like to me. They would set up key locations and just stop there, and then you would have to, like, in certain cases, you would have to lure them away. So this, to me, was a good addition to the game, because some guards were patrolling, some guards were kind of setting up the roadblocks. So I would have left it as it was. But anyway, fix the accused feature, sending companions to prison in another region. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that was happening. Fix several fishing spots being unreachable or placed on the ground. That was a little bit annoying, but I mean, again, there's plenty of fishing spots, so not a huge issue. Fix an issue preventing players to place pittons in certain areas. That's kind of frustrating when you can't do that. Have experienced that. Fix collision issues on the battle map. I'm not sure exactly what that means and what the collision issues were. Fix the Icy Bay fishery background, which was missing, thus making the building floating in the void. Yes, we saw that. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Fix a lighting issue leading to visual artifacts on water. Okay, interesting. Fix an issue of the dejected trait, which remained active even if the companion who left the troop had returned. Oh. Fix an issue related to the morning fog, which was still displayed after disabling weather effects in the options menu. Fix several animations and UI issues potentially leading to skills to be added on the second bar. Click the reset order button on the character sheet to quickly reassign the missing skills. Fix an issue with the fog of war not properly clearing. Fix the hide helmet feature on prisoners. Fix some groups of enemies not appearing in the world. And Dumazu's half necklace bonus has been replaced with a brand new unique one. Quests. Fix 2 quests in the Virtuous region map. Fate of Virtuous. The ending of the quest could be restarted, leading to a crash. And help requested the old pig keeper. You now get to fight the pigs instead of the poor farmer. I thought you fought the pigs anyway. I don't know. That's weird. All right, what else we got? Fixed skills, example, spear while looping indefinitely, preventing players to continue the fight. That would have been fucking really, really awful to experience. I haven't, that's actually one of the classes I haven't tried out. I heard that they were nerfed. Like, I heard that originally the phalanx class, the spear wall ability that they use, was really overpowered, but I heard it got nerfed at some point. But I've never really tried them. I wouldn't mind actually doing an all spearmen campaign at some point, because the halberdiers are pretty cool, the harpooners are cool, and like I said, I haven't tried out the spear wall, the phalanx character, and I'm trying to think of the other class. What is the other class for the spearmen? I don't know. I can't think of it at the moment. Fix war mechanism passive not triggered after killing an enemy. Fix scatter shot hitting units behind the walls of buildings. Fix limit break that could be upgraded 2 times. Fixed destabilizing strike, which could not be upgraded. Fixed reactive grip description for the upgraded and non-upgraded versions. Co-op. Fix save games converting into solo games. Go to the multi menu and load a single player save to convert the file into a co-op save. Fixed client teleporting through the map. Oh. Fixed players ended up stuck on top of the mountain when trying to exit the Gossenberg tomb. That's not good. Fix a missing input on gamepad. It wasn't possible to remove a player from co-op save. You may now press X in order to delete a player from a co-op save. All right, Skelmare Invasion. Fix several crashes, including crash after opportunistic eye was triggered, crash after destroying the siege gates, crash when using silent slaughter in the Inquisition battle. Fix players getting stuck behind the Eddorian border crossing in the Barony of Mance. Fix the missing corrosive collar recipe in Ormance. Fixed enemy who could raise the flag during siege battles. Fix Scald AI killing their allies. Okay, I wasn't sure. These guys, I thought they were doing it to trigger, like, there was some ability that they were triggering or something, but I guess maybe they were supposed to be doing that. Fix Captain Client's dialogue after capturing Skelmare from prisoner's convoy. Fix Sabretooth's smorgasbord recipe, which couldn't be learned. I feel like we learned that recipe in one of my playthroughs. Maybe not. Maybe I didn't. Fix Skelmare prisoners who couldn't be handed over in prison after completing the DLC. Fix an issue with roaming Sabretooths which didn't properly respawn. Fix an issue causing players being unable to give Snapdragon back to its owner. This is... Oh, that's interesting. The owner of Snapdragon, I think, is at the Legion. I think. We actually have this horse in our tavern in our current playthrough, but anyway. Fixed knowledge bonus path after discovering the new sepulcher in Ormance. Fixed an issue with the Y input on gamepad. Same input was used during the Forge activity, opening a strategic map. So yeah, some of these fixes are for Xbox as well. New items can now be purchased from merchants. Glog, Akavit, Tuft of Fur, Retractable Claw, and Stringy Meat. Fix the World's Edge Cap helmet, which could not be looted. And fix the Glog and Akavit that could not be crafted. Alright, Pirates of Balerion. Fixed a crash when reinforcements spawn on a ship. Fixed an issue with the ship would disappear after starting the DLC, rendering the exploration impossible. Fixed a crash during the boss fight. Fixed a ship collision issue, making it stuck at the edge of the map. Fixed Miriam level during Miriam and Hannah Captain fight. Fixed a collision issue, preventing players to control their ship. Fix an interaction with the treasure from the treasure map. Fix the guard ship near the Balerion boss despawning after reloading a save. And quest, fix multiple informants bounty quest issues. The pits. Fix a crash during the first battle of the first pit. And the tavern ovens. Remove the T keybind while in the camp, opening the tavern DLC, leading to a conflict with the keybind for the co-op chat. Attention mercenaries, to celebrate our first major update in 2025 from March 6th to 20th. Wartales main game will be 50% off. Hear that, boys? If you don't have Wartales, she's 50% off right now. The sale also includes 15% discount on our latest DLC, the Skelmare Invasion, with 25% off on all remaining DLCs. Wartales OST is now available with a 10% off until March 20th. So, not bad. things are on sale right now. I'm probably gonna pick up the sound trick and maybe even use it for this video. I don't know. All right, yeah. So that's it. That's the we got her done in, well, just over half an hour. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think. I think this is all very encouraging. Big update for the game. Has a little bit of a different feel to it, but I think overall it's pretty good. But it seems like there are going to have to be some things that are going to have to be hot fixed still. Which, I mean, a game like this that continues to evolve will continue to have unforeseen issues. And yeah, it's good to see that the developers are somewhat on top of things and working hard to make the game as good as possible. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Autobots, roll out. Before I let you boys go, there was one thing that I forgot to cover in my initial recording, and I'd just like to talk about it quickly right now, and that was the deployment area in the battles. Before this update, there would always be spare deployment spots for you to deploy your characters, but now it seems like the spots that are available. I don't know if this is something that was intended. I don't know if this is because I'm playing with such a large party that there's now only a certain amount of deployment spots, but one of the viewers, I can't remember who it was, I apologize, had mentioned that even on the strategy table, oh my gosh, sorry, I've got a cat climbing on my keyboard here, Mr. Bruce. Anyway, one of the viewers had reported that even with the strategy table, with adding the extra deployment spots, it's supposed to give 20% deployment spots, that it still wasn't actually adding them. So my suspicion is that this is not an intended feature, and that apparently, yeah, there are less deployment spots now. So I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's pertinent. And yeah, let me know if you guys have experienced the same thing and whether or not you think it's a bug or if it's an intended feature that they want to limit the amount of places for us to deploy. Yeah, it just makes the battles a little bit trickier because your party pretty much forced to split up your party and you're not able to sort of overload on one side or the other. However, I would say that it kind of shortened the amount of time it took me to deploy. So, I mean, that's one thing. It's sped up the deployment a little bit, and especially with such a large party, deployment can take a bit of time sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I think I prefer it with the actual extra spots so that you can kind of deploy where you like. Anyway, have a great day, guys. Otto out.